All right, today we're going to talk about how to 6-box on a handheld gaming console. That's right, on a handheld gaming console. How I ended up with this was not to 6-box Everquest per se, or even to play Everquest on it, to be honest with you. It was basically looking at a way to play old video games for like the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64. And I always thought it'd be cool to use like a PSP or PS Vita. And then I started looking in options to put something like RetroArch on there that will emulate all the different consoles and games, and then you can load games onto the system and then play it like you're playing Game Boy. So essentially you'd have like a Nintendo 64 all in one piece of equipment on the go. And I was not looking at spending a lot of money, to be honest with you. There were a few options. There's some generic ones that I found on Amazon, but I didn't feel like waiting. So I ended up at Best Buy. Now, when I went to Best Buy, I knew that they had a Logitech G Cloud, which also would probably work for the console gaming I wanted to do. And then they had this thing here. This is an ASUS ROG Ally. Pretty pricey, but I just wanted to get out of the store and take something home that day, so I ended up buying it, only to get home and find out that this thing here is basically a handheld mini computer with a long battery life. I think that the battery life says up to 12 hours. However, I decided to see what would happen if I tried to run Everquest on it. Now, the way that this is connected in the picture here is that is actually a Lenovo docking station connected up to the USB-C port of this ASUS ROG Ally. And then in the docking port is a keyboard, mouse, and monitor. So it's basically like a little desktop computer once you plug it in, with the option to unplug it and be able to play your games. So with 7 screens up, I was about 83% memory utilization. These screens and the games were not reduced to use minimal memory and none of the hacks, so I bet you could probably run a ton more. Obviously, this is for live servers only, where you can run multiple clients off one PC. However, if you had extra money and wanted to buy something like this could definitely be used to run one of the characters on your box. Now, I don't recommend trying to tile 6 icons onto this little 7-inch screen because you won't be able to see anything. However, playing one, it might work. You can probably reprogram the keys and stuff like that, and the buttons, to try to play Everquest and move. I did not do that yet. I'm sure people have. I prefer to use the monitor. You could run 6 and just leave the screen blank, or put your show EQ or something up there, or your main character. You could just tile all the screens down into that bottom screen and just leave one big screen for your main character. If you're running macro quests and other things and it's all automated, once you get going, you really don't need to see the screens. Or if you have something that's very good at alt tabbing or some sort of Windows management system like IS Boxer, you could probably find a way to just make whatever screen you want come up into the main screen. Beyond the point, just wanted to let you guys know that there is a handheld gaming console that will run 6 Everquests. As I had mentioned earlier, I did benchmark this system. It does run Windows 11, so anything that runs on Windows 11 will run on this thing. This is a score on 3D Mark 2011, which you can find for free to download on the internet. I used 3D Mark 2011 because it's the only one I think that is free. It scored a 12,056. How does that compare? Well, I have a 1660 Ti gaming laptop, 32 gigabytes of RAM, i5 10th generation processor, and it scored a 14,700. So this AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme chip inside of this little mini handheld computer is equivalent, I think, to a 1650 NVIDIA 1650 graphics card. So it pretty much will run almost anything. It may not run at the highest graphics, and you probably don't want it to, but you can definitely play all of your PC games and more on this. So as I was saying, 6 characters on just the main monitor hooked up to the ASUS ROG Ally. I have 6 characters on the service here. You can see them all standing in a circle, just to prove that you can actually load into game and it does function and run fine without much graphical lag. Obviously, if you get into big raid fights, you have a lot of spell effects on, that's going to dampen the spirits. However, you can actually fine-tune these more than when I have them and actually make them use less resources than they are. And as I was saying, what else can you do? I got this for RetroArch, which is that emulation. And I do have some games installed on here and some of the systems. So the main things I want to go back and beat are like the Dragon Warrior, which is Dragon Quest on the NES. I want to do Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only Final Fantasy 1, 2, and 3 US versions, which is 4 and 6 Japanese versions. And then I want to go back and beat some of the other games that I couldn't really afford or didn't have access to when I was a kid. So when I undock this thing and disconnect it, I'll be playing something like this. If anybody remembers Final Fantasy 3, it was probably the best Final Fantasy up till maybe 7, and the whole Final Fantasy thing is all disputed, so I don't want to get into that. What else can you do? Super Mario Brothers, anybody? I mean, that is why I got it. It is for emulation. It is for playing these old games. Then you might be thinking, well, I already have a PC. What do I need this for? And I already have maybe a retro gaming console. I definitely don't need this. This also plays regular games with handheld controllers. Starfield is a popular one that came on Xbox Game Pass. It will play this at decent resolution. This was featured as a Diablo 4, which I will show you here in a minute. When they came out with this, they actually optimized it for Diablo 4. Google like top games to play on the ASUS ROG Ally, it plays a lot of games. All right, so how much does it cost? You're looking at it right here, and I think they do actually have more power for models out, especially for the monitor and display, as you see below there, with a little bit more space. I just got the basic one at $699. One below it, you can see there, it has a terabyte drive and an accessory bundle, and it's FHD. So, but here's the one that I got. I bought it from Best Buy, but Amazon works too if you're willing to wait. You have the accessories, upgrades, so you can actually upgrade the drive. So what we want to look at in here is the actual, this is 4 gigabytes of VRAM. You can actually move that up to 8 gigabytes in the Armory crate if you wanted to. Got the 512 gigabyte NVMe SSD, which, like I said, you could replace and do recovery on. Does have a spot for micro SD in case you want to put some other games on it or have extra storage space without opening it up. 120 hertz refresh rate, which is better than your standard monitor. The memory, 16 gigabyte LPDDR5. So it's got the newest memory, 16 gigabytes of it, running at 6400. So pretty solid piece of equipment here, if you ask me. I'm actually surprised because I would have been fine just being retro gaming, and I wanted to try things like Diablo 4 and Starfield. The links for these will be below, so if you're interested to check them out, just scroll below. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And you can see all my fingerprints on it from using it. I did buy something to wipe the screens, but it does run Windows 11. ASUS ROG Ally, mini PC, handheld, low power. You can 6-box off it. Play console games, Starfield, Diablo 4. Pretty sweet. I actually wish I would have bought these instead of a laptop, because it does make a laptop unnecessary. When I hooked the monitor, mouse, and keyboard to it, I was able to use it as a regular computer. The only thing I haven't tried is like Adobe Premiere editing. I don't know that I will, just because I don't want to turn this into something that's work. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time. We got P99, we got TLP, we got private servers and tests that's free. Some of us pay, some of us don't, some of us play, some of us won't. Did you just break my mess? Did you just train me? Did you just miss a healing? Are you gonna rest me? And please, I need a sow, and please, I need a rest. Please, I need that sword, I'll take what you got.